With the economy in freefall, rising inflation, and mass layoffs, most supermarkets are struggling to meet their sales target. While this is going on, there's one supermarket that is seeing unprecedented growth, and that is the German discount supermarket giant Aldi.
After switching to home-delivered groceries during the pandemic, new data shows shoppers drifting back to Aldi to save on the cost of living.
It was the fastest growing supermarket in the US for 2021, and it looks like the growth is not stopping anytime soon. The grocery giant is now the nation's third largest grocer by store count, with only Kroger and Walmart ahead of them. But how did a relatively unknown supermarket achieve such unexpected success, and how did it start? Aldi has a fascinating history, to say the least. It includes kidnapping, a large argument over selling cigarettes that ultimately led to the company being broken up, and, not to forget, some extreme cost-cutting measures. In today's video, we will talk about what Aldi is doing right to see such insane growth in these dire economic conditions. But first, let us look at its history, shall we? You might have come across Aldi or known about it in recent years as you were looking for some cost-efficient grocery options, but the history of this discount supermarket goes way back, as early as the early 1900s, and it all started in Germany. Aldi is actually a common company brand name of two German family-owned multinationals. It's a tad bit complicated, and we will get more on that later. But first, the origins. The first store was opened by Anna Albrecht in 1913 in Essen, Western Germany. Essen was a major industrial hub, which meant the business was booming. The family gradually expanded their business, and soon it became their primary source of income. Then the war happened, which meant Anna's husband, as well as her two sons, Karl and Theo, were drafted to the military. However, after the brothers got back from the war, they decided to expand the business further. By the end of 1948, the family already had 4 stores running under the family name Albrecht. War-torn Europe was struggling, and many people were struggling to buy necessities. The Albrecht business model was focused on providing people with necessary goods as cheaply as possible and making a profit while doing so. From the inception of their business, the family strategy has been to reduce costs as much as possible, and that sure has paid off. Their low-price model was a hit, and soon they were expanding all over Europe. By 1954, they had 77 stores and were dominating the German market. They kept everything simple. There were no fancy decorations in their stores, nor did they spend money on advertising products that were not selling. They focused highly on essential products that were doing well. By 1961, there were more than 300 stores across West Germany, and then the Great Divide happened. This is where things get a little complicated, so buckle up. The two brothers argued about whether or not to sell cigarettes. Theo was all about selling them, but Karl disagreed. According to Karl, selling cigarettes would attract shoplifters, which would harm the business, and thus it was not a risk worth taking. The brothers could not reach an agreement and decided to split. In 1962, the brothers named the company Aldi, which is short for Albrecht Discount, and in English, it translates to Albrecht Discount. So basically, they combined the family name with the word discount. It was a discount supermarket, so it made sense. After their split, both brothers wanted to keep the family name in their companies, and thus Aldi Süd and Aldi Nord were born. Karl got control of Aldi Süd, which operated on the southern side of Western Germany, and Theo got control of Aldi Nord, which operated on the northern side of West Germany. Even after the split, the brothers worked closely together. I mean, they were family after all, and how long could a feud over cigarettes last, right? So yes, both the Aldis are known as just Aldi, but of course their logos are distinctly different. Aldi Süd and Aldi Nord have been two financially and legally separate entities since 1966. Two brothers, two separate entities, but both of the companies are just identified as Aldi. It was in 1967 that the company started to expand internationally. Aldi Süd acquired Hofer in Austria, while Aldi Nord opened its first store abroad in the Netherlands in 1973. It was not until 1976 the German chain entered the US market. In 1976, the first Aldi store was opened in Iowa by Aldi Süd, and in 1979, Aldi Nord acquired Trader Joe's, and operates as such to this day. So basically, all the Aldi stores you see in the USA are under Aldi Süd. Phew, I told you that was complicated. Their operations around the world are also just as divided. For instance, Aldi Australia, UK, and China are under Aldi Süd, while Aldi France, Denmark, and Poland are all under Aldi Nord. I think the brothers got over the feud pretty quickly, and there was no bad blood between them later on, but those damn cigarettes. One other fascinating history that we cannot miss about the company is the kidnapping of Theo Albrecht. In 1971, Theo was kidnapped and held for ransom for 17 days. After paying the ransom of 7 million German marks, which is the equivalent to $2 million US, Theo was released unharmed. He famously went on to claim the ransom as a tax deduction, citing it was a business expense.
In 1971, Theo Albrecht was kidnapped at gunpoint and held for ransom. The kidnappers kept him hidden in a cupboard for 17 days. The grocery baron was eventually released and went on to famously claim the ransom as a tax deduction after arguing it was a business expense.
I guess he deserved the tax deduction after spending 17 days in his abductor's cupboard after all. This experience caused him to be paranoid, and he took different routes to his office in an armored vehicle every day. This incident is also probably the reason why the family decided to live a life of privacy and secrecy. Not much is known about Theo or Carl. They never appeared in the media nor gave any interviews, even though they were some of the wealthiest people in the world. Both companies are still private companies, and not much about them is known besides their core business models and operations. Once their international expansion started, it took place rapidly all around the world. Currently, Aldi has more than 10,000 stores in about 20 countries. Aldi has been doing exceptionally well in the UK as well. It now accounts for 10% of the grocery spending in the UK. This happened in April 2023. In 2022, its market share was 8.8%. Similarly, Aldi has been named Australia's favourite supermarket.
German supermarket Aldi is officially Australia's favourite supermarket after taking out the top spot in their CanStar Consumer Ratings survey. In a survey of over 3,000 shoppers, the discount chain scored higher than Coles and Woolworths across 5 categories.
According to Statista, in 2021, Aldi Group's net sales amounted to $134 billion. It is a staggering 15.3% growth from 2020. Their net sales are forecasted to reach approximately $170.5 billion in 2026. Along with this, their average annual growth rate is projected to be around 4.9% between 2022 and 2026. Aldi is also expanding rapidly in the US. According to a Forbes article published in May of this year, Aldi is set to open 120 new stores across the USA by the end of this year. With these new stores, they will have more than 2,400 stores operating in America alone. Along with that, according to the same article, Aldi saw some of the greatest gains in foot traffic during the final quarter of 2022. The store traffic increased by 6.8%. As you can see, it has seen unprecedented growth after the COVID-19 pandemic. While other stores were struggling, and still are, how has Aldi been able to achieve such growth? Their secret? Their unbeatable cheap prices. The pandemic brought the world economy to a halt. The Russia-Ukraine war didn't help. As an aftermath, inflation soared, and with it the cost of living. People who were brand sensitive before could no longer afford to be, so they became price sensitive. It was now about survival, rather than the luxury of being able to choose from hundreds of brands and the most popular brands. But in such a competitive environment, how is Aldi able to provide its products at such a cheap price? For starters, they never swayed from their initial business model of low cost. It follows the same tactics that it did when it started a century ago. It has remained true to its roots of being cost-effective to provide its customers with products at a cheaper price. One of the important things about the company is that it likes to pave its own path and do things in its own way, rather than follow what competitors are doing. Now let's talk about its cost reduction tactics. The company is highly known as one of the most efficient supermarkets. Rather than focusing on fancy packaging and fancy displays, they focus on what is efficient for their employees and their customers. For instance, the products are stacked on the shelves on the packaging they are delivered in. This saves the time of the employees. Along with this, when you enter an Aldi store, you will not find fruits and vegetables stacked in a fancy way. This means they require fewer employees to stack their products. Fewer employees means the company saves costs on wages. Another important way that they save their cost is by selling private-level brands. It is highly likely that if you go shopping at Aldi, you won't see brands that you're used to seeing in other stores. 90% of what you see on its shelves is private levels. This means they have full control over ingredients, packaging, and also quality testing. Similarly, they use credit card deposit systems for their carts, which means they do not have to employ separate employees just to chase after their carts. The size of their stores are small. They are about 17,825 to 18,000 square feet with 5 or 6 aisles. That is tiny compared to their competitors, which have an area of about 140,000 to 180,000. This means the operation and maintenance costs of the stores are lower. Aldi stores are notably known as no-frills stores, which means all the non-essential features are removed to keep the prices low. As the store sizes are small, the product selections are low as well. You are in and out of Aldi with your essentials in no time. This is extremely beneficial to the customers as well. The more choices there are, the more time you're likely to spend inside the store buying things that are not necessary. And Aldi is best for people who get overwhelmed when given a lot of choices and tend to impulsively buy. While we're talking about impulsive buying, we can't skip over this clever tactic that Aldi implements to ensure that customers come back to their stores again and again. Aldi has something called Aldi Finds in their stores, which is like a treasure hunt for adults who come to shop at their stores. The stores add a limited time item on sale at a discounted price for a short amount of time and do not restock them after they're sold out. The products can be anything from clothes, equipment, food, pet products, clothes, or seasonal items. They add thrill and excitement to their customers' shopping experience.
The German discounters have come up with other methods of capturing shoppers' attention, including one distinct layout feature. Some know it as Treasure Isle Land, the Isle of Wonder, Lidl in the middle.
This is done by Aldi as well as its biggest competitor, Lidl. Now onto their other insane cost reduction tactics. If you've ever been to one of the stores, you might notice how there's never any music playing. Well, that's deliberate. They do not play any music to save the cost of licensing fees. Not having some outdated music blaring on repeat while you're shopping sounds like a bargain to me. Also, don't forget to take your own bags or be prepared to pay for their reusable bags if you're shopping in Aldi. Yep, they don't provide you with shopping bags. And you also have to bag your stuff yourself. Talk about cheap labor. Along with saving costs for the company, this is also good for the environment as Aldi has never provided plastic bags. They also limit their store hours to the most popular shopping hours. This saves them a lot of money too. It looks like Aldi goes to great lengths to reduce their costs, but at the end of the day, along with the business, the customers are equally benefiting from its frugal approach. We tend to associate low prices with low quality, but Aldi might compromise on their decorations, advertising, store size, and customer experience, but it is evident that the one thing they do not compromise is on quality. 1 in 3 Aldi's private labels is award-winning. To top it off, the company operates on German food safety standards, which, let's be honest, are way higher than the US ones. So whether you've been shopping there for ages or starting now because of the soaring food prices, it seems like they provide a good bargain. By the looks of it, the economy will take some time to recover, which means more time for the cost of living to be somewhat stable. The worsening economy might be bad for the rest of us, but for a business like Aldi, it's time to shine. For now, it looks like Aldi will thrive, and there is no stopping it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the latest installment, and we'll see you back here next week. Intellectual Digest out.